Welcome to the Exemplar Effect, the podcast where we explore the profound impact of mentors and role models on our lives. In this episode, I'm joined by Mo Turkmani. He is the host of the Chai and Chit Chat podcast. Mo shares the inspiring story of his father, who, facing the dangers of war in Afghanistan, bravely sought a better future for his family in America. Arriving with little more than determination and a strong work ethic, Mo's father built a successful life for himself and his family. Mo also discusses the lasting influence of his high school wrestling coach, Jim Castle, who instilled in him the value of perseverance and giving your all. We'll hear how this coach's guidance continues to resonate with Mo today. Finally, Mo will share about a close friend from his youth, highlighting the importance of strong and reliable connections built within a community. Please check out the Chai and Chit Chat podcast, available on your favorite podcasting platform. I was recently a guest on Mo's show, and we had a wonderful conversation. You can find links to the podcast in this episode's description. Thank you for checking out the Exemplar Effect. I hope you enjoy the program. What up, Mo? Welcome to the Exemplar Effect podcast. I greatly appreciate you joining me.
Thank you for having me. Like you said, I needed to return the favor, and I really enjoyed my conversation with you on my podcast. So I'm thrilled to be here, and anything else that we need to talk about, I'm here to answer your questions.
Dude, I had a blast. Go ahead and tell us what your podcast is and what it's all about and the name of it and where people can find it. Let's just start off right there. Let's get it out there.
So my podcast is called Chai and Chit Chat. We went through a lot of iterations of names I wanted to call it. Essentially, I first looked up the domain, right? I wanted to make sure a domain was available. And so from there, a couple of friends, there was a friend who I used to work at Subway restaurants with, and he was like, hey, what about Chai and Chit Chat? I'm like, that has a good ring to it. Because I think at first I said Chit Chat and Chai or something, but essentially I came down to it. It's Chai and Chit Chat. You can find it on all the major platforms, Spotify, Buzzsprout, YouTube. And essentially my podcast is pretty much about bringing on different guests with different backgrounds, and essentially they will talk about their journey and their most current career and how they got there, and then maybe just give insight on their career. And just because when I was in college, I was studying electrical engineering, but I didn't know what an electrical engineer does day to day. So I kind of wanted to start a podcast where I bring on different people and they can just talk about their day-to-day lives and just like what they do at work, Yes, you have this fancy title, but what do you really do, So I'm just trying to give insight to people who are in college, getting ready to graduate. They can, tune into these different podcasts, different people, and then, or people that are already in a career and they want to like switch into another, career path. And so I just want to give this insight, be as transparent as possible, talk about salary insight, and stuff like that. Essentially, I just want to help the youth. When I get to a certain point in life, I feel like that's what I want to do, is just help other people. And I feel like, obviously the younger kids are our future. So, hey, why not give them some tools, some insight, some knowledge that they can use to better themselves in the future. So that's essentially my podcast. And I really enjoyed our podcast when you came on, and we had a nice long conversation for whoever's interested, That podcast, I'm saving it for the next season. So my current season's on 2, episode 7 that will be released this upcoming Wednesday. And then I'll have one more, and then after that it'll be season 3, which I plan on. I'll probably release it sometime in Christmas time. I was gonna wait till the new year, but I can't wait. Your episode and a couple other ones were very like we had a really deep conversation and I enjoyed it, somebody who I just met, off the net. I didn't know that I could connect with somebody that much, just someone who I had never met.
Yeah, I felt the same. I really love the day-to-day insights because so many people, even like once they graduate and they're applying for jobs, the job descriptions aren't very clear, they're real vague. I can't tell you how many times me being a supervisor, a manager, I would conduct interviews with people. I would be interviewing a candidate and they would have no idea what job they applied for. People are just firing off resumes, dude.
Exactly. Exactly. So what I'll say though is don't be intimidated by the job description. Essentially, a lot of jobs that I've gotten, uh, if I could have taken a screenshot of that job description and responsibilities versus what I do, it's completely like different. They make it sound like it's very complicated, but when you actually are given the chance to, apply your skills and your knowledge, um, you can pretty much do any job. So like the people that are listening in, if you see a job that you like, that you would like to do, I would say reach out to the people, connections, network with people on LinkedIn and just take a shot at it. That's what I did. I applied to jobs that I looked like I was underqualified, but I got interviews, went into final rounds of interviews, and yeah, that's kind of my advice is I don't really read the job description. I just look at the company and the job title, and I'm like, I think I can do this. And then I just apply for it, and then it kind of is all about the resume as well. So like, if you have the opportunity, especially with nowadays with AI, you can have ChatGPT review your resume for you, tell you what's some things you can add to it. So just use your resources and just try to tailor a very precise resume, and then yeah, just start applying away, and I'm sure you'll eventually land a job that you want to do.
It's so funny because like about a month ago, my partner, she started a new job. We both started new jobs right around the same time. But about a month ago, my partner started a new job in the same field that she's been in, just with a different company. She's very skilled at what she does. She's very knowledgeable at what she does. She loves to learn. She loves to be challenged, and she loves to develop new skills. And she does Microsoft warehousing, like D365 warehousing. And so she went on to a new company
Okay.
and went through that whole job description, interview process. It was a different title, but it was the same type of work. And she got the job, big time pay raise, better schedule, just better company all around. And for like the first like 2 or 3 weeks of being at the job, they kind of like babied her. They had her in these meetings, and she was just kind of like an observer, and she was just kind of like sitting back. And after about 3 weeks, she comes to me and she's like, I think I undersold myself during the interview. I don't think that they know what I'm capable of doing. And then now she's at the point where she feels comfortable chiming in, like, and like stepping up and that sort of thing. And they're like wowed by what she's capable of doing, because she was a little concerned going through the interview process, like, can I do this? Or, because it was kind of vague. The job title was different. So it was kind of vague. So she was concerned that she didn't want to oversell herself, but she kind of like deviated too far and kind of like undersold it. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like everyone's probably seen those people that are in their jobs where they're either too smart or maybe like not that smart, but I definitely see a few people. Like recently we went on a work trip and there's this guy who has essentially the same title as me, but the amount of knowledge that he had while I was watching him was like way above what I had. And I'm pretty sure he gets paid less than me because I'm a more recent hire. So like they try to like, motivate the newer hires with a higher salary because the people who kind of got grandfathered in or whatever and haven't really been asking for raises, they're probably below the market value. And the people that come in, obviously they have to be somewhat up to par with the market value. So I probably get paid more than him, but hey, I'm the type of person that likes to learn on the job, and I can essentially do what he does, but he just had a lot more IT in him, like IT work and like using the PowerShell, like just scripting and stuff like that, which my job doesn't really require, but
Yeah,
it's nice to
yeah.
have.
Plus, you're eager and you're hungry, dude. You're all about it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like we talked about in our podcast, I don't like staying in one place. What the job at Subway taught me, that was my first job ever, and I worked there for almost 7 years, you know. Um, a lot of my friends were actually like, they thought that I was never gonna leave there and eventually work up to management, but deep down, I really hated it. I did enjoy the customer service aspect of it, of, being able to talk to different people, and then kind of slowly networking my way through that. But essentially that was just kind of like uh that's just kind of there for me to look back on. And so now when I'm in my professional career, I give it about 6 months to a year, and if I don't enjoy what I do or it's not challenging enough, then I just stand up and walk away and go to another opportunity. Sometimes it's like my last job was higher paying than my current job, but I did it anyway because I felt like I wasn't being challenged. So just like what you were saying is, yeah, I'm hungry for learning, eager to learn, and just be challenged, because I feel like the journey that I went through in college and all that crap that I had to go through, it's like I want to be able to apply that in real life.
Beautiful insight. Chai and Chit Chat, anywhere you can listen, anywhere you listen to podcasts. So, on the Exemplar Effect, we highlight the people who have shared their wisdom, been there for us, the role models, the people that we look up to, the people that we admire. I'm going to create a memorial for the giving, a memorial for the people that invested in us. So I guess I just want to start off with, like, who do you want to recognize today, Mo? Who do you want to talk about? Whose story do you want to share?
So we could talk a little bit about three people that I have in mind. First and foremost is my father, just a big role model throughout my life. Second would be my coach from high school, my wrestling coach, and third would be a good friend of mine. Just essentially, we grew up in the same neighborhood. We went to the same college, university, and he's within our community. So like whenever we had events and whatnot every weekend, he was there, I was there. So we got really close, and then essentially I think of him as a mentor, just being able to talk to him and share everything. And we're essentially around the same age. I think he's only 1 or 2 years younger than me, of these individuals.
Cool. Where do you want to start? Who do you want to start with?
Let's start with my dad. So essentially my dad is, I look up to him a lot because of where he came from, right? He came from a third world country. He saw that our country wasn't safe, and so he had a game plan. So he got, he worked overtime and whatnot to just save up all this money so that he can get us out of that country because of the war that was happening in Afghanistan with the Taliban and whatnot. And essentially, he was able to move. We were able to go to Azerbaijan, which is another country, right? Like I think north of Afghanistan. Essentially, we went there. We went to the government as refugees, and then through their government, within about, I believe, 8 9 months, we came to America. And it was just, just the dedication that he had. I just always looked up to him. Just he came to America with about, I want to say, like $200. That's all he had. He came, he got right to work. My mom got to work. My mom did like housekeeping. My dad was like at a golf course, like, the little carts running around, grabbing all the balls and whatnot. He started there, and with that $200, I always tell this to everybody because it's like a good story, but with that $200, he like spent half of that. I, I, I I vividly remember this. We like went to a Best Buy. He bought us a Nintendo 64, and then he bought us a couple games, and he knew that they were going to be always at work, and so they were like, we need to keep the kids busy while we're doing our thing. So he bought us this with half of his money, and then yeah, he just how far he's come, coming from a third world country with nothing, and now he owns, real estate property that's well over, it's close to 1 million now because it's San Diego, right? It's way overpriced. And then just like the kind of person that he is, he just recently he sold his first real estate, his condo, to help my brother buy his house because my brother has bad credit. So he was going to get a very high interest home. And if people know, the interest rate's like 7, 8% right now. It's crazy. So he was willing to help him by just, selling that, putting that money in like a 1031 exchange or whatever. And then he was able to buy his house all cash, just to help him. But there is this like, trade off where my brother's still gonna pay him. But that's at the end of the day, when they're passed away or whatnot, all that we get inherited, right? He's just trying to do his part by just managing the money, making sure we don't go and spend it, everywhere. So like I really like that about him. He's very like detail oriented. I feel like a lot of my success is derives from him. Um, and then obviously every parent has their ups and downs, right? Like he's got little anger issues here and there, but at the end of the day, he's still my dad, and I like look up to him. He was able to help me actually with the down payment of my house. Just so selfless, right? He wasn't like, no, this or that. Like a lot of families, they don't have that bond. I understand. Other families might have this connection, might not, but my dad's just very selfless. Uh, he just wants me to like be successful in life, and so he was able to just everything he's worked so hard for, he cares less about going and buying a new car or moving into a brand new house. He wants to set up his kids, and so like since me being the oldest son, he wanted to help me out. And yeah, essentially I feel like he shaped my life in many different ways. And yeah, whenever I need advice on certain things, I know I can go to him, and he's willing to share his
How old
experiences
were
with
you
me.
when you guys came to the States? Like, how aware of the severity of everything
Oh,
that
I
was going
was
on back home were you?
so here. So here's the crazy thing. So obviously the Taliban were ruling Afghanistan at the time. There was like gunshots, there's bombing going on. And so he just knew that it was he wanted us to go to college. And over there, um, it was nearly impossible to go, or it was just not safe. Uh, I don't know if you've heard the stories, but there's a lot of stories where schools, universities get bombed and just like innocent people die. And it's just like terrorists, that's what they do. Um, so he knew that that wasn't where we were meant to be. And so, like, he was able to reach out to certain people and get us out of the country. When I came into the States, the first state we went to was Tucson, Arizona. We went with another family that was a close friend of my dad. And the good thing about this program in Azerbaijan was that you were able to pick another family, and then they were able to send you off to the same state so that you at least know one person. So we went to Tucson, Arizona, and this was in 2001, so I was about 10 years old. And so a lot of that I still remember. So like right when we came into the States, 3 4 months later, 9/11 happened. And so a lot of people who were like trying to come to America, their cases got put on hold because they were investigating, trying to figure out, what had happened. But yeah.
Wow. Um, but was it, how did he help you as a young man, like getting you into schools as a 10-year-old, right? Integrating you into an American school. Like, I'm sure it was kind of challenging for you. How did he kind of coach you through that? How did
Oh,
he, motivate you to that everything was going to be okay?
so in our culture, it's very common for their parents to kind of push the kids to go to college, to go to school, and to get good grades. Like it's unacceptable for me to get a B. And so there's a lot of pressure, and especially being the oldest son, there's a high expectation. I'm like the heir, right? whatever gets passed down, I'm pretty much the next alpha up in line, like if my dad goes away, I'm next. So I need to essentially mimic what he's doing and things that he wants to see in me. So one of the things was is, you need to go to college, you need to become a lawyer, a doctor, or an engineer. And I remember when we had first come into the States, a magazine company had come to our home and they interviewed us, and we still have it, like we have it framed, that newspaper. And in the description there, it says like, it's like my dad talking, and it's like, I want my son to be a doctor or an engineer. And it's a good thing I did become an electrical engineer. But essentially, it was really tough because we weren't really given much choice, right? He just put us in school and said, "Hey, in order for you guys to be successful in America, this is the system. You need to get good grades. You need to go to college. You need to get this degree, and then you will be placed in a job that's like fairly secure, and you'll be making the big bucks." So in a way, that's great, right? Like you kind of wish that all parents did that, right? Kind of pushed more heavily on the education side, because it is kind of like a system. Um, I'm not too sure about nowadays, because nowadays there's so many other things you can do to make a lot of money. Like streamers, like gamers, they can make a lot more money. But yeah, he just kind of gave us that option, like, hey, you're gonna go to school, you're gonna do good, and if you do good, if you need something, we can buy it for you. So like, if we did good, he would reward us with like money. We'd bring the report card, straight A's. He's like, all right, here's $20. And as a 10-year-old, $20 is a lot of money. I could go to the store and buy a lot of stuff. Like it was great. So the trade off was great for me. And also like, I didn't feel like I was being pressured into anything. I enjoyed school. I enjoyed, math, sciences, all my classes. I wasn't like, oh, I'm being forced to do this. I did I did wish I could game more when I was a kid, but it is what it is, right? I'm an adult now. I can build my own computers and I can game as long as I want.
Yeah. What about socially? Like, did you feel like you fit in? And if not, like, how did you bring that home with you? Did you talk about it with your folks?
So what I said earlier, we came shortly after 9/11 happened. So I was naive. I was a kid. So anyone who would ask where I'm from, I'd be like, Afghanistan. They're like, oh, you're a terrorist. They're like, the Afghans are who did the bombing or whatever. And so like, I got bullied a lot growing up. Like first, like, and I didn't know any English. Let this be known. Like I was learning. I I remember like the first grade that I went to was third grade, and this was 3 months left into third grade. I remember going into classes and sitting in a circle with a bunch of kids, and the teacher would go around and be like, "What's your favorite pizza?" And they're like, or they were, or he was asking like, "What do you like on your pizza? Like what topping?" And like I didn't know any English. I'm like, I'm just there like mute, like, and everyone's just looking at me funny, and I feel super embarrassed. And then he's like filling in, he's trying to ease the tension. So he's like, "Oh, do you like, pepperoni? Do you like, bell peppers, olives?" And I'm just nodding my head, right? And so I feel like it was very challenging when I first came to the States, because I didn't know any English. I didn't really have any friends. Um, the only friend I really had was, the other family who I came with. They went to the same school, but we had different classes, and so I didn't get to see them outside in school. I saw them like outside, but yeah, it was very challenging. I think socially, I felt like an outcast. Just didn't know how to communicate with people. I remember like when I went to fourth grade, I would like my parents would drop me off super early in the morning because they had to go to work. And I would go, and there's the basketball courses. Kids from my class are playing basketball, but because I don't know English or I'm shy or whatever, I'm just sitting on this, court side, just like looking instead of like, hey, let's play. But yeah, just as a kid, at that young age, I felt like I didn't know how to make friends and I didn't know how to talk to people. But now, obviously now people hardly ever can tell that I'm from outside of the US.
And you're an excellent communicator now. It must have been something that you really like focused on and worked on.
Oh yeah, 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 definitely. I felt like I should probably do this more with my, significant other, talk more, but I feel like when I talk to other people, I get a good sense, I get a good feeling. So, um, and what I really enjoy about, talking to other people is just getting to know them. Like, what struggles are they going through? And if we can assimilate certain things and be able to help each other. So essentially now I feel like, I don't know if I said this on my podcast, but now I feel like I'm more of a prophet and like I'm down on this earth to just help other people. Like, forget about me. I want to help other people. Like the stuff that I went through, all the struggles that I went through, I want to share with other people and tell them how to like either like, get past it or just yeah, essentially
Yeah.
just do that.
Looking back into your childhood, what is like your most memorable moment of your father when you can like reflect back now? Was there ever a time where you were like, God dang, he's a badass. Like my dad, like he's not like the other fathers. He's above and beyond. He's doing more. He's whatever it is. Was there a moment where you're like, this dude's for
Yeah.
real?
Yeah, I feel like I was saying earlier, I feel like my dad's dedication just always it always like surprised me. Like his dedication to trying to secure a better future for us. He came into the States to just make our lives better. He did auto body work, so he's like kind of like a mechanic. He fixed cars. He would buy cars from auctions and fix them. And he was just like such a go-getter. Like he would work he would work on a car as long as he needed to get it done so that he can sell it and get the return, and just like he had this mindset. And like that's why when I was growing up and I would not like I wouldn't use my time for like I don't know, for like meaningful things, he would just be like, man, kids today, you guys have it easy. Like I had to bust my ass for like, day and night to get the job done, but you're sitting here and saying that you're bored, right? So I feel like just that, always looking back and just seeing that how dedicated he was to his work and also his timing. He was very like he's very strict on his timing. Like if he had to go to work, be there at 7, he'd be there 10 minutes early every single time. There's never been a time where he's missed the time. When there was events, he was always the we were always the first one there. So like it always kind of bugged me because I'm like, there's nobody here. Like why are we here early? We're not the host or anything. Like why are we here early? But like he was just like, nope. He's like, it's the timing. They told us to be here at 7, so I'm going to show up 10 minutes before. But in our culture, it's very like, it's loosely known that like you say 7, you really mean 9 or 8. So like people will show up super late. And then that always bugged me. But I, I kind of got that from him now. Like now I try to be that person. Like wherever we go, they tell us, a certain time. We're like, we got to be there at that time or before because, these people work so hard on whatever they're doing. We need to make sure we're there on time and we're not holding up anything. That and essentially the fact that he was just very, another memorable thing is just in as much good things that he did, he was also very strict on us. So like when my friend would be outside playing, he wouldn't let us play outside. He was like, "No, that's bad for you. Stay inside, read a book." He was just like that kind of father, and that always kind of stuck around with me too. And I feel like maybe that was a good thing. Now that I look back, I reflect on that. I feel like if I was out and I kind of got mixed up with a bunch of random kids from the neighborhood, maybe I would do other things that maybe were bad things, you know. I mean, that's how those things all start out, right? Like they get you while you're young, and then you get into this group, and then you realize they're all in a gang, and you're like, oh, I'm part of a gang. No, I'm exaggerating that, but yeah, he kind of saw it that way. He was just like he just didn't like us to be outside, like only when they could watch us, like we were out on the playground or whatever. But if not, he was like, nope, whatever you need to do, do it inside the house. So those are some memorable things that I can recall.
Yeah, but his work ethic, you as a child observing his work ethic, it sounds like some of that stuck with you because you bring a similar passion to what you do.
Definitely. So exactly. So his work ethic was, you know, get the job done, and essentially that's what I want. That's what I do now is right. If I start something, I want to see it till the end. I want to finish it off, and yeah, his work ethic is just beyond, I think anyone else that I've ever met. And I'm not just saying that because he's my dad, but yeah, he's just that kind of person. He just works hard, and then he just relaxes. Like now he worked hard when he was younger, and now he's like 50, 73. What does that make him? Like 54, I don't know. Maybe not even 50.
I was born in 81 and I'm like 43, so 42. So yeah, he's only like 10 years older than me, dude.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so essentially he worked hard when he was younger, and now most days whenever we like talk, he's just in the backyard listening to the birds chirping. He's like, just chilling, enjoying life. He'll like now he doesn't do like heavy work. He just fixes little things here and there on cars, but customers know his work ethics. They know that my dad's also the type of person that doesn't half-ass anything. So like with cars, it's very like delicate work. Like if you don't fix the frame correctly, the bumper won't sit on there, and then there'll be bigger gaps and whatnot. Like I wish that growing up with him, I wish that I had done a compilation of like before and afters, and maybe do like time lapses of the work he did, because this guy would take a wrecked car and just bring it back, and it's like factory. Like the gaps all around is the same. Like his work is immaculate. Like he does great work, and I kind of picked that up, and I want to do the same thing. I want to offer quality work. I want to do something that I enjoy, and he really enjoyed his work. And I feel like for you to do such amazing work, you have to like what you do.
But what about conflict? You guys ever butt heads at all? And if so, like how does that get handled in the Turkmani household?
So when I was younger, when we first came to America, he'll always bring this back up as a joke, but like he had to discipline us because we were in a rental property. That was like the first home we were given. We were like given this apartment, like, hey, you're gonna live here for 3 months, and then we'll give you funding or until you get back up on your feet. Then you'll go move into like a Section 8 home or whatever. But I had the bright idea of going outside, creating some taking some twigs or whatever, tree branches, and turning them into arrows. And then I decided to turn a bow and arrow, and I started shooting it inside the house, and I made all these holes in the drywall. And yeah, when he came home, he was not happy. Let's just say he busted out the belt, and that's a memorable time for him to and my mom had to step in to like stop that. But he'll bring that up, and the street was called Flowing Wells, and he would be like, he's like, remember the Flowing Wells incident? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I don't remember like the pain that I had, but like, yeah, I remember it. He's like, whenever we did something bad, he would always bring that up, right? That was like he's like we were scarred, for life type thing. But recently, I think the only time we butted heads was just like, I got married back in 2020, and there's my wife and my dad are very, like, trait wise, they're very similar. So they kind of butt heads, and then because I'm kind of the middleman, I will butt heads with my dad, and because maybe they're not in agreement. So here and there we do that, but I try to handle it as professionally as possible because at the end of the day, he is family, and so I can't let these little things get in the way. But he's become a lot more chill. Like if you knew the man that he was back then, and like you see the man today, you would be like, nope, these guys are not the same people. He's a lot more relaxed. He used to care about everything I did and whatnot, but now he's like, you're a man now. You're like 32. Like, you can make your own decisions. You can, like, experiment life on your own. He no longer tries to, like, micromanage because he likes doing that a lot. But, yeah, we don't butt heads as much anymore. He's more just there for support. Like, I'm thinking about like investing in a second property, and he's like, I'm willing to help. Like, if you need money for down payment, like he's just trying to see our family grow. So he's calmed down a lot
And he
more.
has a lot to be proud of, right? You've grown up into this wonderful man. You graduated college, became a professional, got married, and most recently had a baby, right? How would how
Yep.
would he describe you today? Like, what would he say about you if I was interviewing him? What do you think he would say right now?
I would say that he would say that he's very proud of me because um in our culture, like having anxiety, depression, that stuff doesn't like sit well or is unknown, right? Most of these guys that come from third world countries, they don't even know what that is. They're just like, all they know is work and then providing for the family. So like me, pretty much growing up here in the States, getting into college, realizing there's all these other factors that contribute to like mental stability and whatnot. So like when I was going through that, he was like you don't go and sit down and talk to him about it because they'll be like, no, like just shrug it off. Like they don't think it's like a real thing. So I feel like uh yeah, if you were to talk to him, he would say he's that although I went through all these stages in life, I was able to still come out victorious and just, push through. And the main reason for that was actually because my father shared some of his dreams in life when we first came to America. When I said we had that magazine company or whatever come into our home, he said that one of his dreams was for his son to go to college and become an engineer. So like that stuck with me throughout my life. Even in college, it took me a very long time, to finish, but that's because I had other ambitions. Like I wanted to start a business, but like didn't really have the funds there. My dad did, and he wanted to start up like a mechanic shop, and but I'm like, Dad, I can either go to school or I can open a shop with you, because if you go and you hire other people, then your overhead costs going to be too much and profitability will go down. So like I was trying to walk him through these things, but um that just stuck with me, right? Just that it was his dream, and I was, I was multiple times I was ready to give up and just drop out of college because I was like, eh, um, I was like, I don't need this piece of paper to tell me that I'm, eligible, but in reality, you do. I think just this year or maybe next year, they're gonna implement big companies like Dell and whatnot. They're gonna implement entry level jobs where you no longer need a degree for, right? But yeah, to me, every time I wanted to quit, that would just like it would ring in my ears, just say, no, I can't give up. I'm the oldest son, and also it's one of my dad's dreams. He sacrificed so much for me. Like it would be very selfish of me to just drop out and say, hey, Dad, I can't do it. Because another thing that was like uh kind of pushing me to like fulfill his dream was also the fact that my brother went to college for 2 years and then he dropped out because he was in insurance, and he was like, Dad, I'm in insurance. I don't need a degree for this job. I'm already making, 60K. And in a couple years, I'll make 80. And once I'm a senior, I'll make over 100. I don't need this degree. And my dad was very open-minded, surprisingly. I would have thought that he would have taken it in a bad way. He would have been like, "No, you need to go to school, get your engineering or doctorate degree." But no, he was very chill with them. He talked with him, and my dad was okay with it. So that was all more pressure on me, right? So I just felt like I had to fulfill his dream, and so like I pushed through, and you know, with a little bit of dedication, I was able to finish school, and I'm at a great place in life now. And every time we talk, and when it comes back to talking about, uh, like that, is he just always says that he's very proud of me and that I stuck with it and that I was able to, um, conquer my demons
Brother, you
and
got the
finish
receipts. You
school.
got the newspaper article right there to show them. I did it, brother. I did
Oh yeah,
it.
yeah, definitely. So, but yeah, I always feel like he should, like, on his time off, because that's what he's doing right now. He's kind of just chilling. He should really sit down and write his story, because I feel like he has an amazing story. He pretty much, it's like he came from nothing, and now like he's very well off. And um a lot of his friends that came here, who had a 5-10 year head start, are nowhere near like the comfortability that he is now. He set himself up pretty much. And like, yeah, and it's all because he was just very dedicated, and he was very ambitious to get things done, and he was able to,
Yeah, he had a
do it.
goal, he had a plan, and he executed it. And then now, all these years later, it's come to fruition. Like he's a success. The American dream
Yeah.
right here.
Oh yeah, definitely. My dad's the type of person that likes to plan everything out. If we go and do something out of plan, to him is like it's a risk, because he's like, "Oh, it hasn't been planned out." So like that's just the kind of person he is, right? So like yeah, so he's just a man with a plan. And he always gets things done, always has a plan for everything. Like every time we get together, like he's gonna visit in middle of June. He's gonna come for a couple weeks, because my brother did just buy a new house, so they're gonna go stay with him for a little bit. But yeah, whenever we sit around the table, we talk. It always comes back about like, hey, what can we do to better ourselves, like this economy, and whatnot. Like, what should we do? What should we not do? So it's always nice
You
to
being
do
a new
that.
father, I assume you have similar goals for your child that your father had for you, right? To put your child in a better place than you were get put into. So what are some of the approaches that you're taking from your father that you're going to apply to your child? And
Yeah.
then what are some things that you're going to do differently?
I feel like the number one thing that I'm doing, like kind of following in his footsteps, is my father's a very money management type of guy, and that's why he was able to acquire multiple real estate. Just he doesn't spend too much money on what he wants, only things that he needs. So he was able to accumulate a lot of money and then able to buy homes, and his timing was just immaculate. Like he had saved up enough money, then there was a market crash back in 2008. He was able to buy his first real estate. Then in 2012, there was another market bubble or whatever. So he was able to buy his bigger house where we moved into. So like I've kind of started a savings fund for my daughter, where we just take a couple $100 every month and we just put it directly into a savings fund until, she's 18 or whatever. What I'm So I kind of got that from him. He was like, manage your money, manage your money. So like I created this Excel sheet where it shows me my monthly averages of, I just type in like what my electric bill was, and it divides it out, so like I get an average of like what my utility cost is. That this way I can better manage my money and see where all the money's going. And then I can plan for things that I want to do, like travel, or just like have spontaneous like trips or whatnot. So like I picked that up from him for sure, 100%. Like just the money management aspect. I think what I want to do differently though is I'm not going to push my kid to go to college. as much as like it's funny because like I'm big on like education and whatnot, like especially in the aspect when I was in college, I was trying to create YouTube videos for other engineers because certain concepts were kind of difficult to understand in like a 1 hour span in a class. So I was able to go into a library in a quiet space and just write it out and record myself and just detail by detail. Like if it was a advanced course, I would treat it as if someone had never seen calculus before, and I would walk through the step by step, be like, okay, this is the derivative and this, and even though people should at that level, they should already know calculus, right? But still, I would do it step by step, and a lot of people, I got a lot of good feedback that people were like, man, this is amazing. Like you showed me what to do this, what my professor was trying to teach me in like the whole semester, right? So like I want to pretty much give my daughter the opportunity to pursue whatever. Although my dad did the same thing. He was like, pursue whatever you like, right? Because I was so tech savvy, I felt like that engineering was for me. Because I was getting A's, straight A's in sciences and math, obviously, it's like you got to be an engineer. But with my kid, I want to do it differently. Um, if they want to pursue, do do gaming and stream that and they think they can make a living out of it, sure. Like I'm not going to push on the college education thing because what I went through for such a long period of time, I understand that nowadays education's a little bit different. It's more like they're trying to pass on a piece of paper to like every person and they're trying to like systematically, I don't know. This is just my thought. Systematically put you through this process of obtaining this piece of paper that you could do without, but it's just a system. Like you got to get this piece of paper. Our I don't know, whoever we are in connection with will hire you if you have this piece of paper from us. So for me, I don't see much value in like a degree, but not education and just a degree. So like if they don't want to go the traditional route of, going to college and obtaining a degree, then so be it. They want to learn everything. Like there's a lot of people, there's like 14-year-old kids. I had a podcast with a marketing manager who he said he hired, I think like a 12 or 15-year-old who this kid is a genius when it comes to Python scripting and just programming. So he's able to do these big projects that would take a month. He's able to do it in a week and then he's able to chill for the rest 3 weeks. So if my daughter can go on the internet and learn how to code or just learn a skill set that will set her straight for the rest of her life, then so be it. But I think that's just like the main thing that I would do differently. And then also just I want to because we're like because of our cultural background, like I was saying earlier, the whole like talking about like, anxiety, depression, feeling sad, that's not really there. Like I want to be there for my daughter. So like if she's going through that, I want to make sure I talk to her and let her know, "Hey, this is what I went through when I was in college, when I was in school. If you are having any of these feelings, I am 100% like calling out of work or I will dedicate time to go out. If you don't want your mom to hear it, if you just want to have a one-on-one with me, I will take you out. We'll go, we'll talk about it because like that's the reality is when you talk about these things, you feel a lot better. And that's why a lot of people, seek therapy and, psychiatrists and stuff like that, because in reality, that does make you feel better. So, yeah, that's something I want to make sure that my daughter knows that I'm there for her. If she's like having those types of like um, states in her life, that I'm there for her and I'm able to talk about it.
You're a great father, dude. You're a kick-ass father. Tell me about your coach. You said you had a
Yeah,
coach that was
hopefully.
instrumental in your latter years of development. During high school, was it?
So Jim Castle was my junior and senior wrestling coach, so varsity. So I started wrestling the second half of my sophomore year, through a friend in our community. He was like, "Hey man, why don't you wrestle? Like, it's really fun, like, although it's a team effort, but it's actually like you win individually, right?" So, um, so he's like, "Hey, join," and I joined, and that first time that I joined, I was JV. Second half of sophomore year, I went all the way. Like in CIF, I went like I think I got like second place. I made a rookie mistake, but yeah, I was just really good at it. I liked working out, and then when I came to my junior year, I started weightlifting in high school, and so I didn't really connect with my coach for my JV. And then I think he was there for a little bit of my junior year. I just didn't like the way he handled things. So he essentially made us, I won't name any names, right? He essentially made us run laps, do sprints. uh it felt like at times I felt like I was on the track team rather than a wrestling. We should have spent more time wrestling than running around. He would like to he would make us drop like 10-15 pounds to get to our weight class, which is very unhealthy. Like if you go and you don't eat for 2-3 days just to make weight, like a perfect example is I went to a CIF match. I think it was, or not CIF, it was like a tournament with this first coach, right? Not Jim Castle, not my second coach, but the first coach. I went and I had no energy to push their second string guy, like even push him because I was so like, I had no energy. So I didn't like his methods. Then came Jim Castle. He came from like a very notorious high school, like Poway High School, which they're known for their wrestling.
I know guys that wrestled at Poway High School.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Poway High School, in my time, they were the school to watch out for because everybody knew that they had a good program. I think maybe they start their kids from middle school or maybe even elementary. I don't know. But they had a good program. And so, like, those wrestlers were really good. So his kid was still going to Poway High School, but he would come all the way down to East County, which was a good 30 miles away, to coach us. And right off the bat, he made it known when he came, when he took over from the first coach, he made it known. He said, "Hey, we're not a track team. We're not going to be running around like we're part of the track team. We are going to spend that time in here and we're going to wrestle." We did a lot of like Ironman drills. If you don't know what that is, that's essentially 4 or 5 people in one mat circle, and there would be one guy in the middle. He would wrestle each one. Like there would be a 2-minute timer or whatever. You'd wrestle, time. The next person will come in, wrestle you. So you get drained at the end of that. But his thing was like, "Hey, we're gonna keep wrestling till the walls sweat." uh, so like we just wrestled, and he just had really good techniques. I mean, obviously he's coming from Poway. He knew a lot, and he would never like. What I loved about him was I was at the time I think I was like 175. My first match I was 175, and the weight below I think at that time was like 171. He didn't want me to drop weight. He was like, "No, go one class up." He's like, "I don't want you being like starving yourself or anything." He's like, "Just take the next one up." So, and that like hit me different. I was like, my last coach would not approve this, but that's awesome. So like I did that, and then I realized those guys were much bigger and heavier. So I took it upon myself to eat a little bit healthier, work out. I got into weightlifting, started working out, and then I dropped to once from there on out. I think it might have been 173, but then I worked and I dropped some weight, and then I was pretty solid at 173. I had a lot of fun in that weight class. And then senior year, I became team captain along with one other guy, and we would run pretty much the practice. He was very like, um, he was very what's the word? He's very like uh considerate because because I'm Muslim, like we would do Ramadan, we would do fasting, And during that month, he would cut practice short. He was like, hey, I understand you guys are fasting, so wrestle and take it down a notch. Like, don't go hardcore because you guys haven't drank anything, ate anything. Like, I don't want you hurting yourself. So he would instead of a 2 hour practice, the people who were fasting, because there was actually there was a lot of people from Kurdistan, like that were also Muslim that wrestled, and so he would just let us only practice for an hour, let us go home. He was just very considerate guy. The word that always rings back to me is like, I remember CIF championship tournament, and like it was my senior year, and he like, the word he told me was like, he was like, hey, give it your best. Like, you're never gonna get this moment again. You don't want to look back in this moment and say that you didn't try hard enough. Just give it your best. Whether you win, you lose, at least you know you gave it your best. And that just stuck with me. And so a lot of times, uh, I've carried that on like my entire life. Nowadays, when I would go to the gym, whenever I was ready to quit or whatever, I would think about all those wrestling practices and just like going ham, just not quitting, because there was a lot of time things, like, or we would just do sprints back and forth, and he was just like 10 seconds left, like, I remember all that stuff, and just, I just carry that through my life. That gives me like stamina to just like keep pushing myself and just not to give up. So like, I've just carried that on, and he's just an amazing guy. I hope I could talk to him soon. But he's a very busy guy. He's like CEO of a financial or like insurance company. So, but he's an awesome guy. I remember when we had teacher appreciation, I wrote him a letter, and he was just like, he was almost gonna cry. He was like, "Oh, this is awesome! Like, thank you." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You've been a great coach. I hope that you whatever you do, you're like successful in life, and just like, I hope to be like you one day, in the future, because the way that you do things is like very close to what I want to do." So, yeah.
Why do you think he was so easy to like, I don't know, because so people are good at like, they hook you, they like they get your buy-in. Like, why did he get your buy-in when the other coach didn't?
Yeah, I think because he was more like laid back. He was tough, like, but he was laid back. It's very hard to describe it, because when we were in practice, he would always, like, whenever he had to demonstrate a new move or a new thing, he would always call on me, like, and he was a bigger set guy. He would beat my ass, and I was just like, he's sitting on me trying to demonstrate something, and it's like 400 pounds on me, right? And I'm just like in there, like, I gotta take this, right? But like, he was just a very chill guy. Like, I don't think I saw like the bad side of him. The only time that maybe he would get mad was like if like we lost, and we would take our headgear and toss it on the ground, or like do something that's not like good to show, to all these other people watching, like good sportsmanship. Like, he was very big on that. But it was just everything he did, like, was very like, it would be something that I would do. So I guess in that way it was very relatable. Um, he pushed us when he needed to, but didn't like cross boundaries to where like he thought like, like, because we're his students, that he could take advantage of us or anything. He just was that type of guy.
They're relatable in a sense that they like empower you to do the work, but the standard is set. Like, the standard is high, the expectation is high, but there's something about them that you're like, I want to do this both for him and for myself, right? They get you, like, they teach you that.
That's what I felt. Yeah, exactly. Uh, I wrestling's a very like like you pin the guy, you win for yourself. But there is a scoreboard that for every pin, it gives you 6 points. So like, you do technically win as a team as well, but most people didn't really care about that. It's like, you just cared about your own match, right? And very little sports have that, right? Is where a lot of sports, a lot of team sports, it's not like you don't win individually. Um, although this is like more of a team sport, you win individually. With football, it's not really like that, or basketball. Um, but yeah, whatever he would kind of tell you what to do, and the like you were saying, the standards, the expectations there, you would just have to go and meet it.
You mentioned that you got a chance to write him a letter for teacher appreciation, and you said that you haven't had a chance to
Yeah,
actually speak to him, but you want to reach out to him. If he was here right now, if I called him up into this
yeah.
meeting, what would you say to him? How would you thank him?
I would bring up that essentially the words that he told me during that CIF championships, essentially just telling me that, hey, whatever, just go give it your best shot. Don't do your best, because years from now you're going to look back and you don't want to regret this. So I want to thank him for that, because that stuck with me. Um because I want to say that I didn't dedicate as much time into wrestling as I should have, because I feel like I could have gotten a lot farther in wrestling, if I had spent more time practicing. But I had other things. Like, I'm in high school. I want to enjoy, my senior year, So I could have been a better captain, but I do have a little bit of regrets about wrestling, because I didn't put as much time as I should have into it. All in all, I feel like I was still a good person, a good team captain to talk to, and just like guide the younger ones, the JV kids. Um, but I would just pretty much thank him for like for those 2 amazing years, and everything that he did for us on the mat. Outside of that, he would dedicate his time. I know this might be a requirement or not, but I remember like Saturdays were like the tournament days. He would show up like 5 a.m. at the high school, and then he would drive us down to the tournament. Like, cause I don't think we had a bus, so like he would drive us down there, and then he would tell other people like, "Hey, if your parents are willing to help, like tell them to meet up here," and he would drive. But he was just very like a good guy. Like, I wish I could reach out to him and just thank him for that, because yeah, I live to his to those words every day. And yeah, even nowadays when I go to the gym, when I'm having a bad day or something and I'm working out, that always comes back to me, those wrestling days. And like, I'm like, man, like I used to give it my best. Like, what's stopping me doing that now, right? So just him putting that thought in my head is like, it's great.
Before we wrap, dude, let's tell me about your homeboy. Tell me about your close friend.
My friend Mohammed. So essentially, the funny story there is, when me and my other friend Hamid, that we came to from Azerbaijan to the States with, we were best friends, right? So we come into this community. We come to Tucson, Arizona shortly after. I think after like 8 months or a year, they come to San Diego, and we're still in Tucson, Arizona. So he makes friends with my now good friend Mohammed. They're friends for a few months, right? They're always hanging out. So we're still in Tucson. Then my dad's friend calls him up and says, "Hey, you gotta come check San Diego out. It's amazing weather here all year round." So then one summer we make a trip down, and we're like, "Man, this place is amazing." And I think we went back, and 2 3 months later we packed everything and moved San Diego. But when I moved at the time, like, Muhammad was taking away my good friend from me. They were always hanging out. Every time I would go hang out with my good best friend, Muhammad felt the need to be like jealous type or whatever. He would not let me do certain things. Like, if they were having, like, I don't know, hot cocoa in the house, he would get him but not me. Like, essentially stating that he didn't like me for no reason, right? He just didn't want to share him with me, I guess, or whatever. So like, it was funny because that's how we started out. Then eventually, like, we stayed in the same community, same apartments for many years, and then we got closer and closer. But I remember as kids, we were not like good friends. But then as we grew older, we just like, obviously we just were put on the same path of, like high school. We were just always hanging out together, became closer there. And then we went to community college together, became, we hung out a lot there. He was doing a whole different major. He was doing accounting. I was doing engineering. But yeah, we used to go to the gym all the time, and we were able to just talk about like our goals, like what we want to like accomplish. And then I was able to, I remember that this kid had never lifted weights in his life, and I actually got him to go to the gym. Um, I don't know if he will acknowledge that, but this is how I remember it. I got him into the gym. Like every day we would hit the gym. Like we would not skip a single day. We did this for several years, and I got him to a point where he was like incline benching 70-pound dumbbells. And I remember, like, I kind of vividly remember the first day of the gym where I gave him like 25-pound dumbbells and his arms were just shaking, like he couldn't do anything because he had never lifted weights in his life. But I essentially like helped him and like got him to be like, fit, strong. And then after that it was just kind of like a hobby type thing, like a habit. He couldn't skip the gym. Like he would text me, "Hey, when are you going to the gym?" I'd be like, "I already went." And then he's like, "Oh, I'm about to go in an hour." I'm like, "You know what? I'm down to go a second time." And then we would meet up at the gym. He would pick me up one day. I would pick him up one day. We'd hit the gym. Um, and that's how we got close in college. Once we transferred into the university, we were kind of both on the same path as far as like mentally. We were both drained, just like depressed or whatever. We hadn't found a significant other. I don't know. We're like, man, we're a bunch of bums. Like, what do we do? But he was just a good friend, like to talk to. He never like judged or anything. He was always looking to help me. And nowadays, because I'm already married and I have a kid now, he's always like reaching out to me. And I tell him all the time, I'm like, "Hey man, if you call me and I don't pick up, like I will call you back." And that's what I do because he's such a close friend. We have this history together, right? Um, like I consider him as like a very good friend. So like if he calls me, even if he texts me shortly after, "Hey, it wasn't important," I will still call him on my way drive back home. I'll still call him and check up and be like, "Yo, what did you want to talk about?" Because I know right now he's kind of going through like a relationship hardship because he's he's dating this girl outside of our culture. So um it's going to be a little bit difficult, right? Like religious wise, culture wise, everything's different. So his mom has accepted, like, yes, you like this girl, like I want you to be happy. He's accepted it, but he's kind of having second thoughts type thing. And he always calls me for like mentorship. And so like it's time for me to give back the favor, right? Like when I needed his help, he was able to help me. So like now I'm just like, "Hey, I'm in a relationship." Oh, he will like tell me the funny stories. And I'm like, "Dude, my girl does that exact same thing. Like, don't worry, they're all the same." Like um they, if you do something wrong, they will call you out for it. But if they do it, you can't call them out for it because then they'll just be like, "No, this is normal." But it's kind of like a double standard, but whatever. Um, but yeah, like he's just a very good friend of mine. I look up to him a lot. Um, he's accomplished a lot. And I always tell him, "Hey man, don't give up." I've even like suggested like, "Hey man, if you can move out here to Utah, like I could probably get you into my company." Because right now I think he's under in unemployment because he's been getting into jobs and like they've been startups or whatnot, and it just hasn't worked out for him. So in the past year or two, he's just kind of been hopping around and just hasn't found it yet. And I always tell him, I'm like, "Dude, I feel the same way with every job, but you gotta just keep doing what you're doing till you find a good workspace that you can, go in and out every day for who knows how long."
What do you admire most about Mohammed?
I feel like his kind of his ambition is very similar to mine. Like he's a go-getter. Like he won't stop uh wanting to achieve whatever goal he has in his mind. So like he'll keep doing what he's doing till he achieves that goal. And I feel like obviously hanging out so long and being such close friends, we're eventually gonna influence each other, right? Those people around you, they're eventually gonna influence you. So like for me, it's like been 3 to 5 very close friends. And honestly, I can care less for other friends outside of the circle. Like, yes, we'll have certain interactions, but I don't really give too much attention to that. So like with these few friends, I try to keep them close because I know if I'm like stuck on the side of the road, I can call them and be like, "Hey man, I'm stuck. Can you come get me?" And they're willing to do it like in a heartbeat. They're not gonna be like, "Hey man, it's 2 a.m." You know, if they pick up the phone, they'd be like, "Shit, like you're in a hole. Like let me come get you." You know. So, um, I feel like that's what I admire most about him is just the fact that he's able to set his mind into doing something and then do it.
Mo, you yourself are a true exemplar. You are, brother. You are an exemplar. I appreciate you coming on tonight, brother. Thank you for your time. It's been wonderful chatting with you again.
You as well. Thank you so much. Thank you for responding to that Reddit post because I feel like people like you know, are the whole reason I started my podcast was to just meet different people with different backgrounds and just hear their stories because I feel like everyone has a story to tell, right? Um, and it just feels good. It's like a free therapy session.
That's why I do it. I get more out of it than anybody else does. I really do.
Yeah, definitely. So, um, I haven't been as, what do you call, consistent with my podcast, but that's just because, you know, I have a little youngling running around the house and then we're like trying to figure some things out. Life's tough, you know, there's all these ups and downs, but the main thing is I don't want to give up this like goal that I have, right? Is to try to help the other like the next generation or whatnot, kids that are in college. So like I will continue to do my podcast for as long as possible. I try to keep it consistent, but if it's not, that doesn't mean like I'm gonna stop, right? I'm not gonna look back and be like, I haven't posted in a month. Let me just drop it here, right? And then people be like, what the heck? You know? So like I'll keep doing it. I don't care about the followers or whatnot, you know. I'm just doing it to put good content out there. Because when I initially started my YouTube channel, when I was doing the tech stuff when I was in college, I wasn't doing it to get paid or anything. I didn't even know YouTube had a payment program. But like I did so many videos where at some point I could monetize all my videos and then I started getting paid like a couple $100 a month. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I wasn't even doing it for that reason. I was just trying to help people. So like same thing with my podcast. It's just I want to put good content out there, not like clickbait or like that little brain rot material, you know, that you don't get anything from. I want to just put good content where people can learn something and then maybe carry it on. They can share my content with other folks.
Awesome. Mo Turkmani, Chai and Chit Chat podcast, anywhere you can get your podcasts. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Thank you. I hope everybody enjoyed this episode and best of luck to you and the rest of your episodes.